Picture a village nestled in a peaceful valley, quiet, surrounded by dense forest. This is the kind of place where everyone knows everyone, and nothing ever stays a secret for long. But every village has its mysteries, and this one is no different. Our story begins with a man named David, polite, reserved, and a bit of a mystery himself. David was one of those people who never really fit in. He wasn't unfriendly, but he kept to himself. People knew him, but no one really knew him. He was a man with a secret that could shake the entire village to its core. You see, David came from a family that had been cursed. Generations ago, a terrible punishment was placed on them. No one in the village knew about it, but David carried the burden every single day. His curse. Well, let's just say it was something no one would believe unless they saw it. The curse started many years ago with one of David's ancestors. The story goes that he wronged someone, though what he did, no one remembers. What is remembered is the curse that followed. From that day forward, every male in David's family line would be born with a terrible affliction. This curse, David, it's something we cannot escape. But we must hide it, for if anyone found out, we would be outcast. Our lives would never be the same. And so, David lived his life in isolation, always keeping others at a distance, never allowing anyone to get too close. He knew that if his secret were revealed, it would destroy everything. But even with his secret, David couldn't help but be drawn to Hannah. She was everything he wasn't: outgoing, friendly, full of life. For the first time in years, David wanted to let someone in. Against his better judgment, David and Hannah started dating. He tried to keep his distance, but she had a way of making him feel normal. For the first time, David began to wonder if maybe, just maybe, he could have a life like everyone else. But as time passed, Hannah began to notice things that didn't quite add up. David was sweet, but distant. Whenever their relationship seemed like it might take the next step, he would pull back. At first, she thought he was just shy, but then, the signs became harder to ignore. One day, while walking through the village market, David suddenly went pale. He looked terrified, though there was no obvious reason why. Hannah asked him what was wrong, but David just muttered an excuse and quickly left. This was the moment when Hannah knew something was very, very wrong. That night, Hannah couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. So she decided to check on David. But when she arrived, she found his door slightly open. And that's when things took a turn for the terrifying. At first, she thought she was imagining it. A hissing sound, coming from the corner of the room. But as she stepped closer, she saw it, David, hunched over in the corner, with a snake attached to him. Her heart raced. Was she dreaming? Hallucinating? No. It was real. David's secret was out in the most horrifying way possible. By the next day, the entire village knew. Word had spread like wildfire. David's secret was out, and the villagers didn't know what to make of it. A villager said, "Did you hear? David is cursed." Another villager said, "It's black magic, I'm sure of it. We need to do something before it brings more harm to the village." Hannah was in shock. She didn't know what to do, what to think. But one thing was clear, the village was divided. Some wanted David gone, afraid of what his curse might bring. Others felt sorry for him, believing he was a victim of something beyond his control. David's fate hung in the balance. The village elders had called a meeting, and now, everyone was waiting to hear what would happen. Some wanted him banished, while others called for compassion. And David, he remained silent, knowing that his secret had finally been exposed. An elder said, "This curse, it's dangerous." But David did not choose this. Should we punish him for something beyond his control? Another elder said, "But what if this curse brings harm to our village? Can we take that risk? I know this curse is terrible. I was terrified when I found out. But David has lived with this his whole life. He didn't ask for this. We should try to help him, not turn him away." Hannah's words echoed through the square. The village elders deliberated, and after much debate, they reached a decision. An elder said, "David may stay, but only if he agrees to work with us to find a way to break this curse." With the village's help, David began his journey to break the curse. It wasn't easy, and there were moments when it seemed like they would fail. But slowly, hope began to grow. In the end, the curse was broken, not through magic, but through the strength of the village's unity. David was finally free, and the village learned a valuable lesson. Sometimes, the things that divide us can be overcome by understanding and compassion. And so, our tale ends, not with fear and rejection, but with hope and forgiveness. David's secret was no longer a curse, but a reminder that even the darkest truths can be overcome if we face them together. So, what do you think? Once upon a tale farm, could you imagine living with a secret like David's? How do you think the village handled the situation? Let me know in the comments below. I'm curious to hear your thoughts.